Good morning all. Welcome to the next lecture. Today we will discuss one of the macroeconomic model which is popularly known as ISLM model as an application of linear equation. See, the ISLM model actually describes the interaction between the real sector and the monetary sector. That means it is the commodity market and the money market. And it is typically represented graphically, but it can also be formulated mathematically. So in this lecture, we will discuss what actually mean by the ISLM model, and then we will try to solve some mathematical examples related to the ISLM model. See, Higgs, Hansen, Lerner and Johnson have put forward a complete and integrated model based on the Keynesian framework. In this model, the macroeconomic variables like national income, the rate of interest, the investment, demand for money and the supply of money, all these variables are interrelated and mutually interdependent and can represented by two curves which are popularly known as IS curve and LM curves. And this model which actually tried to find out the level of national income and the rate of interest which are jointly determined simultaneously in equilibrium in the two interdependent market, that is goods market and the money market. See here, the IS curve which actually shows the equality between investment and saving, which actually represents the product market equilibrium. Similarly, we have the LM curve as well. That is, LM here it is denoting the equality of money demanded and the money supply. That means demand for money and supply of money. And representing here, it is the money market which is in equilibrium. So this ISLM model has become a standard tool for macroeconomic policy intervention. The goods market is in equilibrium. See, the aggregate demand is equal to the income level. Aggregate demand, it is generally determined by the consumption demand and investment demand. That's why we can write as per the Keynesian framework, see, income is equal to consumption plus investment, that is consumption demand and investment demand. And in Keynesian model, the goods market is in equilibrium. The rate of interest is, most important factor that determine the level of investment. And the rate of interest falls, then the investment is increases, and if the rate of interest is very high, then investment is decreases, which means that there exists an inverse relationship between investment and the rate of interest. See, thus the rate of interest which affect the aggregate demand or the aggregate expenditure by causing changes in the investment demand. So this is actually represented the goods market equilibrium, where we are mainly talking about the saving investment equality, and this equality is bring about through the rate of interest. Now similarly we have the money market equilibrium as well. See, money market equilibrium is actually represented by LM curve, which shows that equality of money demand and the money supply, and which represents a money market equilibrium. Therefore, the LM curve is actually related to the level of income with the rate of interest, which is determined by the money market equilibrium corresponding to the different levels of demand for money. So the money market is in equilibrium when the demand for money is equal to the supply of money, denoting that, see, MD is equal to MS, where MD is denoting for the demand for money and MS is denoting for the supply of money. And the money market is in equilibrium when the demand for money is equal to the supply of money. So we look at what actually mean by the demand for money and the supply of money. See, the supply of money, which actually refers to the total quantity of money in the country for the all purpose at any period of time. And see, although the supply of money is a function of rate of interest to some degree, generally it is considered as fixed by the monetary authority of that particular country. So therefore, the supply curve of money is perfectly inelastic because it is fixed by the monetary authority of that particular country. This is the supply of money. Now let us consider what actually the demand for money means. See, demand for money, the Keynes coined the term liquidity preference, which means that people's desire to hold money in the form of cash. So it is the liquidity preferences. And as per the Keynesian theory, there are three motives for which people demand money as per the Keynesian theory. And the first one is, transaction motive. Second one is precautionary motive. And third one is speculative motive. And the transaction demand for money, which actually says that individual hold cash in order to bridge the gap between the receipt of income and expenditure. And people receive this income mostly, it is weekly basis or monthly basis, while their expenditure goes on day-to-day basis. So a certain amount of money which is ready, therefore kept in the hands to make a current payment. So the transaction motive or transaction demand for money is actually depending upon the level of income of individual. So here I am denoting the money is demanding for the transaction purpose, that is MT, which is equal to the function of level of income. So people demand money for transaction, and if income is increases and people have more transaction, and they will try to hold more money for this transaction purpose. Similarly, we have the second motive for the demand for money as per the Keynesian framework. It is precautionary demand for money. And the precautionary demand for money, it is actually arise due to the uncertainty about the future receipts and expenditure. See, people require to keep this particular amount to meet unanticipated or unforeseeable incidents, or to meet the unexpected increase in the expenditure or delay in the receipts, or whenever they want to meet any type of emergencies. So here also the type of demand for money, they may expected to vary with the level of income. So here also Keynes assuming that the precautionary demand for money is a function of level of income, since the amount of money held entirely depending upon the level of income. So if the level of income is very high, then precautionary demand for money is also very high. The third motive for demand for money, which is speculative demand. See, speculative demand for money, which Keynes assumed that people store a part of their wealth either in the form of money or in the form of bond. And it is mainly for securing the profit from the financial market. That is what future will bring forth. Therefore, there exists an inverse relationship between the rate of interest and the speculative demand for money. So here, the speculative demand for money, MZ, which is the function of rate of interest, and there exists an inverse relationship between the speculative demand for money and the rate of interest. Now, if you consider the demand for money is the sum total of transaction demand for money, precautionary demand for money, and speculative demand for money. So here MD is denoting the total demand for money in an economy, MT is transaction demand for money, precautionary demand for money, and MZ is the, it is the speculative demand for money, which is the demand for money to be held alternative to the other assets. So this equation actually states that total demand for money, which is the sum total of transaction, precautionary, and speculative demand for money. See here, the transaction demand for money is a function of level of income, and the precautionary demand for money is also function of level of income, but the speculative demand for money is the function of the rate of interest. So these two are the function of level of income. We are writing it is only once. The precautionary demand for money and transactionary demand for money we are denoting in terms of MT, and MZ is denoting in terms of speculative demand for money. So here the total demand for money, which is the function of level of income and the rate of interest. And this equation is actually represents the total demand for money as a function of both the level of income and the rate of interest. Now, consider the equilibrium level. See, equilibrium, the interest rate and the level of income, or equilibrium level of rate of interest and the level of income are determined by the intersection of money market with goods market. That means LM curve with IS curve. So IS curve and LM curve are related to the each variable, where both are together determining the level of income and the rate of interest. See, IS curve is generally denoting that is y is equal to c plus I, and LM curve is denoting that is it is on the basis of equality between money supply and the demand for money. See here, the supply of money, which is equal to MD, where MD we already derived, it is MT plus MZ. MT plus MZ. MT is the function of level of income, and MZ is the function of, it is the rate of interest. So we can write, instead of MD, we are writing it is MT plus MZ. Now we can represent the equilibrium by using the diagram. See, this IS curve is showing a downward slope or negative slope, which represents that the increasing investment and the income as the rate of interest is falling. If the rate of interest is fall, then the level of income and the rate of investment is increases. So there exists a inverse relationship between the rate of interest and level of investment. And similarly, we have a LM curve, which slope upward from left to right, because given the supply of money and increasing in the level of income, the demand for money, which leads to the higher rate of interest. So here, the income and the rate of interest are therefore determined together at the point of intersection of two curves, that is IS curve and LM curve. So goods market is in equilibrium, the aggregate demand is equal to the aggregate output, and money market is in equilibrium when the desired amount of money is equal to the actual supply of money. So now, based upon this ISLM framework, we have some numerical examples. See here, given consumption function, that is C is equal to 102 plus 0.7 Y, and investment is equal to 150 minus 100 I, money supply is given, that is 300, MT is the function of level of income, which is 0.25, and MZ is equal to 124 minus 200 I. And we want to find out the equilibrium level of income and the rate of interest. And also, we also want to find out the level of consumption, investment, transaction demand for money, and the speculative demand for money when the economy is in equilibrium. So what are the information given here? Consumption function is given, investment function is given, money supply is given, transaction demand for money is also given, and the speculative demand for money is also given. By using these particular informations, we can derive both IS as well as LM curves. See, IS curve is, we are generally derived by using the equation of Y is equal to C plus I. So the income is equal to consumption plus investment. So consumption is given here and investment is also given here. We are just going to substitute these values here, then it will become 102 plus 0.7 Y plus 150 minus 100 I. So here, if you go for taking 0.7 Y into the left side of the equation, see, it will become Y minus 0.7 Y, which is equal to 250 minus 100 I. So here, taking the Y outside, because Y is common here, so I am taking Y into the outside. What is remaining here? 1 minus 0.7, which is equal to 250 minus 100 I. Then 1 minus 0.7, which we can say that it is 0.3 Y, which is equal to 252 minus 100 I. So now I am taking this minus 100i into the left side of the equation. So it will become plus 100i, which is equal to 252. So I am treating this is equation number 1, which representing the IS curve. Now, with the given information, we also want to find out the LM curve. So which we are generally formed, the money market is in equilibrium when the demand for money is equal to supply of money. So MS, the supply of money, which is equal to the demand for money, which is also equal to MT plus MZ. So here the information regarding MT and MZ both are given. So we can directly substitute these values in the given function. So here the money supply, which is 300, MT, which is 0.25y, plus MZ, which is 124 minus 200i. So here by rearranging this equation, see 300 taking 124 into the left side, so it is minus 124, which is equal to 0.25y minus 200i. Then by rearranging here, we will get, see, it is 0.25y minus 200i, which is equal to 176. So we have a simultaneous equation here, that is, one is representing the IS curve, that is equation number 1, which represent the product market equilibrium or commodity market equilibrium, and 0.25 which representing 0.25y minus 200i, which is equal to 175. This is representing the LM curve, that is the money market equilibrium. Now, by considering these two equations, see, we have a simultaneous equilibrium or simultaneous equation with two unknown variables, that is y and the level of income. So here we want to solve this equation simultaneously. So in order to solve this equation by using elimination method, we will multiply the equation number 1 into 2 so that the coefficient of I can be equalized, so that we can eliminate the variable I. So I am multiplying here the equation number 1 into 2, then it will become 0.6y plus 200i, which is equal to 504. Then the second equation I am putting as it is, that is 0.25y minus 200i, which is equal to 176. So now we have the equal coefficient for the I, so we can eliminate the I by adding these two equations. So by adding these two equations, it will become 0.6y plus 0.25y, which is equal to 0.85y. This will be cancelled out. Then 500 plus 176, which is equal to 680. So by dividing the both side of the equation by 0.85, then y is equal to, it is 800. Now we are going to substitute y is equal to 800 in any one of these equations. For example, I am substituting here y is equal to 800 in equation number 2. So here the equation number 2 is equal to 0.25y minus 200i, which is equal to 176. So instead of y, I am substituting 800 here. So it will become 0.25 into 800 minus 200i, which is equal to 176. So by simplifying this, it is 200 minus 200i, which is equal to 176. We can solve for I, then it is minus 200i, which is equal to minus 24. Dividing both sides of the equation by using minus 200, then I is equal to 0.12. So here the rate of interest, that is equilibrium rate of interest, is equal to 0.12 and the level of income is equal to 800. Now the remaining variable we want to find out on the basis of equilibrium level of income and the given the rate of interest. See, at this given y is equal to 800 and I is equal to 0.12, then consumption we can find out, because consumption function which is already given, that is 102 plus 0.7y. So here we are going to substitute y is equal to 800. So it will become, see, consumption is equal to 102 plus 0.7 into 800, which is equal to 662. So consumption in the equilibrium is equal to 662. Similarly, we can also find the investment. See here, investment is equal to 150 minus 100i. So here, see, we can substitute the I is equal to 0.12, then if you go for substituting here, then it will become 150 minus 100 into 0.12. Then if you go for simplifying it, then you will get the investment is equal to 138. Similarly, we can also find out the transaction demand for money. The transaction demand for money, that is MT, which is already given in the question, that is 0.25y. So here y is 800, so I am substituting y is equal to 800 here. So it will become 0.25 into 800, which is equal to 200. So transaction demand for money here, it is 200. Similarly, we can also find out the speculative demand for money. See here, the speculative demand for money, which is equal to 124 minus 200i. So here 124 minus 200i, I is given which is 0.12. So it is 0.12 I am going to substitute here. So speculative demand for money, that is MZ, which is equal to 124 minus 200 into 0.12, which is equal to 100. So this is the speculative demand for money. And the level of income in equilibrium, we are already said that it is 800. See, just go for adding up the consumption plus investment. See, what is consumption? It is 662. And what is investment? Which is 138, which is equal to 800, which we are already calculated here. That is the level of income in the equilibrium is equal to 800. And similarly, we can also calculate the money supply. Money supply, which is already given in the question, that is 300. If you go for adding up the MT, that is transaction demand for money, and the speculative demand for money, which is equal to the demand for money. So demand for money in equilibrium is also equal to the supply of money. So here we can add up the transaction demand for money, which is 200, plus the speculative demand for money, which is 100, so which is equal to 300. So here the demand for money is also equal to the supply of money. So these are the various calculations which we can calculate or estimate by using this given question. Now let us consider, similar to the previous question, we have another question. Say, determine the equilibrium level of income and the rate of interest from the given following information, that is consumption function is given, investment function is given, money supply is also given, MT, that is transaction demand for money, and speculative demand for money is also given. We want to find out the equilibrium level of income, consumption, investment, transaction demand for money, and the speculative demand for money. See here, what are the information given? Consumption function is given. So C is equal to 0.8y plus 100. Then investment function, which is the function of level of income. So it is minus 20i plus 1000. Then money supply, which is 2375. The transaction demand for money, which is equal to 0.1y. Then speculative demand for money, which is the function of rate of interest, so which is equal to 0.2 minus 25i plus 2000. See, from this given information, first we will derive the IS curve, or what we can say that it is product market equilibrium or commodity market equilibrium. So here the consumption function is given, investment function is given. So we are directly substituting these functions into the income equation, that is y is equal to C plus I. So here y is equal to 0.8y plus 100 minus 20i plus 1000. So here I am taking the 0.8y into the left side of the equation, so it will become y minus, before that I have added here, see 1000 plus 1000, 100 plus 1000, which is equal to 1100. So here I am taking y into the left side of the equation. So y minus 0.8y, which is equal to 1100 minus 20i. Then y is common here, so I am taking it to the outside. So y into 1 minus 0.8, which is equal to 1100 minus 20i. The plus sign is extra here, so we want to remove it. So here, if you go for simplifying it, then 1 minus 0.8, which is equal to 0.2y, taking minus 20i into the left side of the equation, so it will become plus 20i, which is equal to 1100. So this is the product market equilibrium and which is represented as the IS curve. So this is the IS curve. The equation number 1 is denoting for the IS curve. Similarly, now we can derive from this given information, we can derive the LM curve where the money market is in equilibrium. So you know the money market is in equilibrium when the supply of money is equal to the demand for money. So here money supply which is equal to the demand for money which is given in terms of MT plus MZ, that is transaction demand for money and the speculative demand for money. Both are given here. MS is given and MT is also given, MZ is also given. So we are directly going to substitute these values here. So MS, that is money supply, which is 2375, which is equal to MT, which is 0.1Y minus 25I plus 2000. So if you go for simplifying it, taking the 2000 into the left side of the equation, so it will become minus 2000. Then what is remaining here? 0.1Y minus 25I. Then it is equal to, again rearranging this particular equation. See, 2375 minus 2000, so it will be 375. Then rearranging the equation, see it is 0.1Y minus 25I. This is treated as a equation number 2 and this is representing for the money market equilibrium, or it is the LM curve. Now we have the both the equation number 1 and equation number 2. See, both are the function of here the level of income and the rate of interest. So we have a simultaneous equation here with two unknown variables, that is y and the I. So that we can solve this equation either by using the direct substitution method or by using the elimination method. So we are using here the elimination method. So we have a simultaneous equation here. In order to eliminate the variable y, I am going to multiply the equation number 2 into 2. So if you go for multiplying the equation number 2 into 2, then it will become 0.2y minus 50I, which is equal to 750. And the equation number 1, which is already given here, and the equation number 3 we are considering here. So it is 0.2y. The coefficient of income is same, so we can eliminate this variable, that is y. So in order to eliminate y here, we want to subtract. So I am putting here subtraction sign. So now if you go for eliminating here, then this will be cancelled out. Then 20I minus 50I. So it will become plus. So it will be 20 plus 50, which is equal to 70I, which is equal to 1100 minus 750, which is equal to 350. So here, if you divide the both side of the equation by using 70, then I is equal to 350 minus 70, which is equal to 5. So here the rate of interest is equal to 5. Now we can substitute I is equal to 5 in any one of the equations. So we are substituting here I is equal to 5 in the equation number 1. See, equation number 1 is given, that is 0.2y plus 20I, which is equal to 1100. So here substituting I is equal to 5, the equation will become 0.2y plus 20 into 5, which is equal to 1100. So here 0.2y plus 20 into 5, which is equal to 100, which is equal to 1100. So if you go for simplifying it, then 0.2y, which is equal to 1000. Then dividing the both side of the equation by using 0.2, then y is equal to, it will become 1000 divided by 0.2, which is equal to 5000. So this is showing that the equilibrium level of income. So this is the equilibrium level of income, and I is equal to 5, which is the equilibrium level of rate of interest. So by combining both IS curve and LM curve, or IS equation and LM equation, see, we are in a position to get the combination of, or equilibrium level of, it is the equilibrium level of the income and the rate of interest. So rate of interest is equal to here 5 and the equilibrium level of income is equal to 5000. Now by using these two information, we can derive the remaining functions or remaining values. See, consumption function is given, which is 0.8y plus 100. So we can substitute here y is equal to 5000. So by substituting y is equal to 5000, the consumption, which is equal to 4100. Similarly, the investment, which is equal to minus 20i plus 1000. So here I is equal to 5. So we can substitute here, it is 5, not 5, 0.5, it is 5. So I is equal to minus 20 into 5 plus 1000, which is equal to 900. MS is already given, that is 2375. MT is equal to 0.1 Y. So we are substituting Y is equal to 5000. So it will become 500. So transaction demand for money, it is equal to 500. Now we can find the speculative demand for money. See MZ, which is equal to minus 25I plus 2000. So I is here, which is 5. So 25 into 5 minus 25 into 5 plus 2000, which is equal to 1875. So we are calculated the national income, that is Y, and the rate of interest, then consumption function, the investment, then transaction demand for money, and the speculative demand for money. So thus we can say that in order to solve a ISLM model, we would start by finding the equilibrium level of income and the rate of interest, where the IS equation and LM equation, or IS curve and LM curves, both are intersecting each other. And the intersection represents the equilibrium point in the economy, where both goods market as well as money markets are in equilibrium. So let me conclude here. We discussed here the ISLM model, which give the framework in macroeconomics that illustrate, that explain the relationship between the interest rate and the income level within a closed economy. So the model is based upon two equilibrium conditions, where the commodity market is in equilibrium and the money market is in equilibrium. Accordingly, we can evaluate the impact of policy intervention on macro outcomes or macroeconomic outcomes. So I hope it was clear to you, and we will see in the next lecture. Thank you.